Welcome to this week's edition of the Big Buck Registry's Deer Hunting Podcast, episode number 231, the special holiday edition. Before we get into today's show, I want to give a special thank you to all of our sponsors that help keep the wheels turning over here at the Big Buck Registry. Without them, this show doesn't happen. In particular, I'd like to thank Doug Kostrava over at the HB Seed Company, Tim Gothier at Enforcer Ozone, the entire staff at Covert Scouting Cameras, Zach and Keith Doyle at the Rack Packer, Wayne and Shauna Bogardus for making the tree stand wingman at Black Ash Outdoor Products, and thank you to Jim Morse, Randy Gagney, and Tom Staples and the entire staff over at Morse's Sporting Goods. We decided to change up the format this week, and instead of going with our typical long-form interview, we're keeping it short and sweet and in the spirit of the holidays. I gathered a few of our good friends from the podcast, most of them past guests, to recite a special hunter's version of Twas the Night Before Christmas entitled Twas the Night Before Rifle Season, as written by and with special permission from Tim Biebel. And most of all, from our family and crew here at the Big Buck Registry, we wanted to wish you and your family a safe and happy holiday. And thank you for tuning in as often as you do and listening to the show. We've received some amazing feedback over the year, and we are humbled and thrilled by the response. We'll keep making these shows as long as you keep listening. So without further ado, here is the Big Buck Registry's special holiday edition, Twas the Night Before Rifle Season.
'Twas the night before rifle season, and all through my mind were images of big bucks that were one of a kind. My gear was in a pile on the bench by the door. The next morning I'd be wearing it at 4:15.
I snuggled into bed, but not a wink did I sleep, for I only saw deer as I tried to count sheep. My wife slept beside me, and I thought, oh, how I'm blessed. She was excited for me, but still got plenty of rest.
I laid awake for hours on end, able only to think of how the next day would trend. My eyes were heavy, but I couldn't seem to shake visions of a buck that only big dreams could make.
Then suddenly in front of me was the buck of my dreams. I brought up my gun, but only heard screams. My safety was stuck, and I could not get it off, and as the buck stood and stared, he just seemed to scoff.
The safety was stuck. I try as I might. I fiddled and fiddled, but couldn't get it right. At the moment it seemed that life was not fair. I succumbed to the fact that I didn't have a prayer.
Then oddly enough, he looked at me with a grin and said with a smile, "You'll never win." I finally got it fixed, but was just out of luck, for by the time I was ready, out of sight ran the buck.
When the woods settled down, I heard a strange noise. A ringing in my head was a sound that annoys. Then I woke to discover it all just a scare, for the buck of my dreams was not even there.
I sat up in bed and took a look at the clock. My alarm was sounding loud, and I was still full of shock. I gathered my strength and hopped out of bed, threw on my clothes, and buttered my bread.
Out in the forest, the bucks were in wait, and going back to sleep would only spell fate. I smiled when I looked at the sky crystal clear, for I'd soon be after the buck I dreamt of all year.
Happy hunting to all, and to all a good night.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
I wanted to give a special thanks to everyone that helped out to put this show together. In particular, Cuz Strickland from Mossy Oak and our guest on episode 225, Robbie Kroger from Blood Origins, episode 230, Hal Blood from Big Woods Bucks in episode 183, Heather Jones Shepherd from the Dixie Deer Classic in episode 231, Josh Carney, Son of the South, episode 87, Michelle Schuerman from Bulletproof Communications, and of course a big thank you to my crew and partners in crime here at the Big Buck Registry, Jim Keller with the Deer News and Dusty Phillips with the Chubby Tines Tip of the Week. This podcast is now available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Play, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Just do a search in any of these directories for Big Buck Registry and you'll find us. We also have a website at www.bigbuckregistry.com. And finally, we have merch. T-shirts, both long sleeve and short sleeve. Just visit www.bigbuckregistry.com/merch. We hope you had a fantastic deer season. If you are still hunting where you live, we wish you the best of luck. And hopefully this podcast has made a difference in your life. We'll keep putting them out if you keep listening. And we'll be back next week with another special episode. Be safe, thanks for listening, and happy holidays.
Over the hills and everywhere, go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. Down in a lonely manger, the humble Christ was born, and brought us God's salvation that blessed Christmas morn. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born.